I'm really torn on how much to show you about The Outer Wilds, not to be confused with the upcoming The Outer Worlds by Fallout New Vegas developers Obsidian, because that's a different game. But I'm torn because exploration and discovery is more or less the entire purpose of The Outer Wilds. It's a game about learning the nature of the universe you find yourself in, from the geology of planets in your solar system, to the history of species long gone, to the inner workings of advanced alien technology, to the mysterious physical phenomena that make the planets go round. So the more I talk about it, and the more footage I show, the more I'm going to be spoiling this game, and I really don't want to spoil too much. The game has some positively breathtaking scenes and ideas, and stumbling onto them of your own accord is the very reward that drives the game. So if The Outer Wilds is already on your radar, I'd recommend stopping this and any other videos about it and just going into it completely blind. This video won't spoil any plot stuff or major mechanical reveals, but it will spoil at least one really cool thing that isn't really advertised and is best discovered on your own. But it's part of the premise, so I kind of have to bring it up to talk about the game. So while I still think you should go in 100% blind, if you haven't really heard about The Outer Wilds and wonder what it is, or need some convincing to check it out, here's as spoiler-free a spiel as I could probably make on why you should play it, with maybe a spoiler-filled video to follow after. To start, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to give a rough overview of the premise. In The Outer Wilds, you play as a young, four-eyed astronaut from the only aerospace agency on the tiny planet of Timberhearth. You wake up under a night sky to see a weird light show in space, but there's no time to worry about that. Today's the day of your first launch, and you need to hit up the observatory to get your launch codes for your ship. On your way back, though, you pass a statue of the Nomai, an ancient precursor race of furry, three-eyed beings whose technology and writings are scattered throughout the solar system. Weirdly, the statue turns to face you and opens its eyes, seemingly bonding with you. But we don't have time to worry about the statues of old dead species. It's launch day, so you shrug it off and take to your shuttle. From there, the path is up to you. There are over 7 celestial bodies to land on and explore, inside and out, from moons to comets to hollow planets slowly being consumed by a black hole at their center. Choose what interests you, go forth and explore the universe. But do it quick. Because, and here's where we start spoiling some of the fun surprises, 22 minutes after you wake up under that evening sky, the sun explodes and the entire solar system is consumed by the blast. And that sucks. But all is not lost. However you die, be it in the blast or some other way before it hits, you'll see a rewind of the past gameplay session until you find yourself again waking up under that night sky and seeing that mysterious blue burst. And so the game's core loop and overall goal are revealed. Can you discover the mysteries of the universe, of the past, and of the technology available in order to break out of the loop and prevent the cataclysm? And the worlds here are absolutely worth exploring even without their secrets and mysteries. Take the Hourglass Twins, so called because at the beginning of the loop the Ash Twin is buried in sand, and as the loop progresses all of that sand falls across the way to the orbiting planet, the Ember Twin. It creates a dynamic space to explore, a sort of cosmic scale clock to indicate how much time you have left before the loop resets, and a world that feels like it continues whether you're present or not. And all that is great, but also, it's just cool to look at. The same goes for eternally raging storms on Giant's Deep, a huge planet covered in water and perpetual cyclones. Or Brittle Hollow, where large chunks of what's left of the planet's surface fall into the churning black hole at its center as time goes on, cutting off access to some areas while opening up easier access to others. Each world has its own secrets, sure, but each world also has its own dangers to contend with. Which is why it's also a game where I have died a lot of unexpectedly hilarious deaths, despite the subdued, melancholy tone of the game. Some of them were just dumb on my part, like jumping out of the ship and forgetting to put on my spacesuit, causing me to asphyxiate 10 feet from my ship for no reason other than that I wasn't paying attention. Or firing a Nomai rocket without looking at what was in space in front of me, so I immediately crashed into the Ash Twin a few hundred meters above me. But my favorite was probably the time I was crushed by Well, I don't want to spoil it, but if you played the game, this footage is pretty amusing. Now up front, this is a game that asks a lot of you. If you play it without spoiling it for yourself, it's something like 12 to 15 hours long. And that is a lot of 22-minute loops, and the constant restarting can get grating, as can the fact that you can't really speed up time. So if you need something that's only at the end of the loop and you're at the beginning of the loop, you're in for some waiting around. It's some real pretty waiting around, though. The Outer Wilds is also a game that doesn't really hold your hand. It's not a hard game, per se, none of the puzzles are particularly difficult, and it's not a game about hurting you the way that Pathologic or Getting Over It are. It's not interested in the aesthetics of pain. It's more that the game is a one-way street. You have to come to it won't come to you. Which makes sense given the game's themes of discovery. If it tells you what you need to know, or even hints at what you need to do, it's robbing you of the joys of some future revelation. It doesn't drop hints if you haven't made progress in a while, it doesn't tell you where to go next, and it doesn't explain how to use the knowledge you've gained in one area to solve the puzzles of another. So there are going to be moments where you quit the game in frustration when you can't quite make the dots connect. And while the Outer Wilds updates the ship's computer logs with every fact you find, you can't access those logs on the fly, only when you're actually physically on the ship. So committing some brain space to what you're learning is critical. You can't just breeze through the text and assume the game's going to tell you what to do later. My point is, this is not a game you play casually on a Saturday night at 11 p.m. when you just want to unwind a little bit and relax before bed. The Outer Wilds expects you to be present and attentive. The whole game is about learning. And that's either going to lead you bouncing off of it in the first few hours and never coming back the first time you get stuck, or falling down a rabbit hole of cosmic knowledge and history that will consume you until the game is done. The Outer Wilds feels like it's the sort of game that'll have like a 60-40 split between people who will fly around for a little bit and then get bored and quit, and people for whom the game clicks so strongly that they start talking like Roy Batty at the end of Blade Runner. I have been to the quantum moon in the 6th location, and I have seen what lies at the heart of Giant's Deep. I have watched the sun rise over the flowing sands of Ash Twin and join the sunken city as it fell into the sky. And if I stop playing, all those moments will be lost. Like the sun blew up. But that weird, arcane, withholding, pseudo-inscrutability, that sense that there's more to be learned just over the horizon if you're willing to put in the effort to figure out how to get there and see it, is also the source of the game's allure. If you can vibe to it, if you can resist just looking up the key facts to let you beat the game quickly, it can offer a solar system's worth of interconnected puzzles that fuel an insatiable curiosity, as the answer to one puzzle unlocks new understanding of the others. I found myself waking up in the morning ruminating on how to get to the project at the core of Ash Twin, or rushing to my computer after dinner once the trick to getting into the observation tower on Brittle Hollow popped into my head. The epiphany when you realize through your own experimentation how certain mechanics work in the game is a joy unlike few others. Finding a secret entrance or shortcut to places that used to take you most of a cycle to get to gives you a sense of intimacy with the universe. You have spent enough time with it that it's decided to show you its secrets. And when I say that learning and knowledge acquisition is the whole game, I mean it. The first few times you encounter a puzzle, you may assume that you don't have the tool to beat it yet, or that your ship will later get an upgrade that'll let you bypass certain obstacles you see everywhere. That, and I cannot emphasize this enough, does not happen. The only thing that gets updated as you play the game, the only thing that survives the reset of the universe every 22 minutes, is the knowledge in your head and the knowledge in your computer log. That's it. That is your upgrade, that is your indicator of progress. Knowledge, context, and understanding. Everything else resets. You start the game with all the tools you need to beat it, save for those. And this is why I'm being so weird about spoilers, even though this channel doesn't usually care too much about that stuff. I wouldn't just be ruining a plot twist in the story, I'd be taking the act of playing the game away from you. And what makes those discoveries so great is that they aren't just, I found a new area, or I got a new plot chunk, although the game has those too. But the best revelations are the, oh, that's how that weird phenomenon works. And that knowledge may let you solve a different puzzle you were stuck on a completely different planet. Or, oh, that's how this technology operates. And that understanding may make useless areas suddenly take on meaning that you can use. The discoveries feed into each other, and that's what makes gaining knowledge in this game so empowering and addictive. It's not just science, it's applied science. But it only works if you don't have the answers told to you by some random guy on the internet, or a page on game FAQs. This is not a game about book learning or memorizing dry facts. It's a game about going out there, seeing what there is to see, and trying to understand it. As much as Outer Wilds is about knowledge, and it is very much about knowledge, it's even more about how knowledge is acquired. It's as much about being there to witness something as it is about gaining an understanding of how and why the thing exists. But we're venturing into spoiler territory, so we'll save all of that for next time. Meanwhile, that's the game in a nutshell. I hope I haven't revealed too many of the game's secrets, even if I did want to pull the curtains back enough to get you interested in playing it. Besides, there's plenty left to be experienced. You get to explore a toy box-sized universe that acts as a cosmic puzzle waiting to be solved, and all that's missing is for you to go out there and learn about it. So if any of that sounds remotely up your alley, definitely go check this out. It's surprisingly rewarding to play, and by the end, actually kind of edifying. And next time we'll get into why that is, and what this game is doing with all of its learning mechanics that makes it not just a fun solar system-sized riddle, but an uplifting and even emotional experience. See you then.